Okay, so today I will be speaking about the main findings of the study me and my colleagues did on the problem of ageism and business opportunities and new medical technologies that improve health and longevity of the elderly. Through the use of an online questionnaire, we examined the attitudes of 768 Slovenians towards healthy longevity technologies that we defined as mechanisms through which people could achieve longer and healthier lives. We were also interested in their attitudes towards aging and towards the elderly. Now, what we wanted to know was how desirable healthy technologies, healthy longevity technologies are amongst our participants, how long our participants desire to live, and the attitudes that they have towards the elderly. Now, the focal point of our research was the effect of the so-called 2040 healthy longevity scenario. And we wanted to know whether shifts in attitudes would occur after the introduction of the scenario. Now, the 2040 healthy longevity future included 4 key pieces of information. Firstly, that our participants entered the year 2040 and grew 20 years older. Secondly, that healthy longevity technologies became commonly used among Slovenians and that they became available to a high majority of the Slovenian population. Thirdly, that in 2040, an average Slovenian gets to achieve 110 years of age. And lastly, that because of healthy longevity technologies, most Slovenians remain healthy, active, and vital up until their very last months of life. Now, since the health aspect of healthy longevity technologies, as the name itself suggests, was emphasized throughout the questionnaire, the added value of this scenario were a more detailed description of healthy aging and the assumption that a lot of Slovenians in 2040 are using healthy longevity technologies. Now, the first thing I will touch upon is the way our participants viewed the elderly. We measured ageist attitudes with the help of the Fibroni scale of ageism, and our participants were given several ageist statements with which they could either agree or disagree. Now, as evident from this present chart, before the introduction of the scenario, almost all of our participants expressed non-ageist attitudes. Now, since the debates regarding ageism and longevity future go both ways, with some people fearing ageism might increase due to the economic dominance of the older elite, and others claiming that it should decrease due to the intellectual and physical consequences that healthy aging could have for older individuals, we wanted to see which of those two claims we could confirm. Now, as you can see from this second chart, the answer is none. So the least we could actually say, based on the data we have collected, is that when our participants were faced with the healthy longevity scenario, they didn't change their attitudes towards the elderly in any significant manner. Now, the second variable we focused on was the general desirability of healthy longevity technologies. We wanted to know whether participants wish to use healthy longevity technologies, whether the thought of using them makes them happy, whether they would recommend these technologies to their loved ones, and similar things. Now, this present chart proves that healthy longevity technologies are highly desirable among our participants. But as already mentioned, we can't forget the assumption that these technologies would make healthy aging possible. After the implementation of the 2040 healthy longevity scenario, a small increase in desirability was observed, something that we can most likely attribute to the high availability of healthy longevity technologies in 2040, and of course to the very positively oriented assumption that people in 2040 remain healthy and active until the very last months of life. For more practical data on what desirability of healthy longevity technologies could mean for the Slovenian market, we also asked our participants how much money they would be willing to spend on healthy longevity technologies per month. The data before the introduction of the scenario shows that on the average, our participants would spend 39 euros per month on healthy longevity technologies. This number almost doubled after the introduction of the scenario, when participants were willing to spend 71 euros per month on these technologies. Now, in line with the increase in general and economic desirability of healthy longevity technologies is also the information about our participants' desired length of life. The average desired length of life before the scenario was 91 years, which is 10 years more than the average life expectancy in Slovenia. What happened after the scenario was that the desired length of life increased to 96 years. As evident from this bar chart, 13.3% of our participants before the introduction of the scenario expressed the desire to live infinite or extremely long lives, but this figure didn't significantly increase after the scenario. Now, up to this point, we have established that the 2040 healthy longevity scenario neither increases nor decreases ageist attitudes, but that a certain increase in desirability of healthy longevity technologies and the desired length of life can be observed. This, of course, suggests that a future in which these technologies prove themselves effective could open great possibilities to the ones delivering the products. Still, in response to the assumption that in 2040 healthy longevity technologies become somewhat a commodity, we of course need to ask ourselves if these technologies in the real future would offer themselves to everyone. So, for example, would people want to extend their lives if they couldn't share them with their peers? Now, the next question focuses on the reasons why these technologies appear to be highly desirable in Slovenian society. One of the questions we also asked our participants was what value would motivate them the most if they decided on the use of healthy longevity technologies. As seen from this present chart, 66.6% answered that health would be their main motivation. Similarly, when they were faced with the statement, I want the average life expectancy to be longer, even if that means facing illness in old age, only 27.5% answered in the affirmative, which means that life extension among our participants does not in itself enjoy much support. According to this data, it can be claimed that healthy aging is what our participants actually desire the most. In support of this argument is also the fact that the average desired length of life ranges between 10 and 15% above the average life expectancy in Slovenia, and that only a minority of our sample expressed the desire to live infinite or extremely long lives. Now, Slovenians are well aware that long life doesn't mean much if it's not a healthy one. And as our society grows older, this observation, of course, remains as relevant as ever. Thank you for your attention. Now, if there are any further questions, I will be happy to answer them.
Thank you very much, Metka. Now, you can put your questions in the chat. If anyone is interested about the research, we had many different questions, so Metka knows them and she can answer anything in details. All right, Metka. So then I will ask you one question. How was connected popularity of life extension with the knowledge about these technologies?
Okay, so first of all, this hypothetical scenario obviously showed a possible future in which these technologies are used. That doesn't mean that the future will look exactly like this, but of course, this offered some kind of idea to our participants on what this future might look like. So based on this, of course, our participants were more interested in these technologies. They desired longer lives and so on. But the only real information we have about the pure knowledge on these technologies is in the case where we asked our participants how much knowledge they actually have about these technologies. And then we looked into how this correlated with the desirability, the economic and the general desirability of healthy longevity technologies. And what we found after the scenario was that that in the case of economic desirability, the knowledge on healthy longevity technologies actually was positively correlated with the desirability, with the economic desirability of these technologies.
Okay, thank you. And I have another question from Ilya Stambler. It is, what do you plan to do next with the results? Bring it to the policymakers.
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
What do you plan to do next with the results? Do you want to bring the results to policymakers?
Currently, we didn't have any such ideas, but of course we wanted to publish these results in a journal. So that would then mean, of course, that they would be available to the public, and that anyone that would be interested in these results could, of course, then see the implications that our findings have for the future policies.
Thank you. And I have another question. Do you prompt the participants to comment on any potential negative consequences of the life extension technology, rather than just perceived positive one of extended healthy lives? For example, unequal access, implications of overcrowding.
No, that was definitely something that after we've done the research, we thought about that. It was definitely something that we should have done, because certainly, as I've already mentioned, this hypothetical future was very positively oriented. So of course, that's not something that would for sure happen in the future. So that's of course a suggestion on what future research should do in this field.
Okay, thank you, Metka, for this great presentation and great talk.